Good evening, everyone. The Rotary Club of Kings Cross is now in session on this Monday, the 25th of July. We're delighted that you're joining us either live or hopefully after action on YouTube. We have a full evening this evening, and I'd like to get started by acknowledging our guests this evening. We have Mark Krasinski from
Very good.
our friend from the Rotary Club of Warsaw City. Mark, it's always good to have you with us. We're grateful that you were joining us this evening. I don't see any other guests. I have some apologies from Judith Ward, who is wrapped up in her Rotary International Women's Award today and asks to be excused. So without further ado, thank you, Pete. I'd like to start the evening, hopefully, with a discussion that we had around leadership, and specifically the leadership of our new president of Rotary International, Jennifer E. Jones from Toronto, Canada. I first came across Jennifer quite by accident during a Zone 8 meeting. It was Sunday morning, I remember it clearly. And she was zooming in from Toronto and giving about a 30-minute address, which was one of the best addresses that I've heard concerning Rotary and leadership in a long time. We'll be observing that this evening. And before we do, I want to kind of sort of give you a little bit of insight into Jennifer. I'm going to share my screen now, Pete, and
Sure.
And bring up something quite interesting. What you're looking at is, I call this Jennifer's genius. What you're looking at.
You haven't shared screen yet. This hasn't popped up yet.
Hasn't popped up yet? Okay, just a second. Is it up on the screen now?
No, not yet.
Okay. It should be, I don't believe I have to do anything since I'm co-hosting, right?
Yeah, so just go share screen, the green button at the bottom.
Yeah, just a second here. Hang on. Yeah, I forgot to share my own screen. Hang on for a second. Yeah. Share content. There we go. Share my screen. Okay, start broadcasting. Okay, now I'm good. I'm good. Hang on for a second now. I will be sharing my screen. Okay, can you see me now?
Got it.
Jennifer's genius. Yep.
Yeah, good. Now what you're looking at there over here is the Rotary International symbol for the year. And it looks so simple and so deceiving, but in fact, it's packed with a lot of imagery and a lot of meaning. For example, I want you to meet Riki Salam. Now, Riki is actually the artist and illustrator who is responsible for this Rotary International image for the year. Riki is Indigenous. He runs a creative agency in Brisbane, specializing in Indigenous communications, Indigenous art, and Indigenous illustrations. And this whole thing is the brainchild of Riki. And as he talks about it, he specifically mentions that his art is meant to convey Aboriginal values and ideals. So bear that in mind as we go along. For example, he created both the visual image for Rotary International on the left and the international conference, which is going to be held in Melbourne this next year. And you can see that the images look absolutely the same. And he calls the connection between the two visual language. And what we're going to do is we're going to unpack the visual language of the Imagine Rotary on the left. To start with, every image and color has an Aboriginal cultural meaning. That's important because once you understand the colors and the meaning, it gets even more intriguing. For example, white, which is the background in Aboriginal culture, is equal to peace. Well, of course, that's one of the 7 foundations of what Rotary is trying to achieve. And I think it's particularly interesting also, Mark, that the white background of peace is certainly a global one and has a big impact on you at Warsaw right now. So when you look at this Rotary Global Image for the year and see the white background and remember that that white back in Aboriginal culture means peace. And if you think about it, that's what the white flag is all about, isn't it? It's a white symbol basically across cultures. In addition to that, the purple that you see on there in Aboriginal culture is the color of healing. The medicine men, for example, all wore purple because that was their sort of caduceus, that it symbolized healing. So now we have white for peace, purple for healing. Continuing along, the circle that you see there is meant to convey the connection that we have to each other. A circle means a connection. And if you take a look at it and think about it, all things are circular in the sense that they keep repetitive symbols. And the circle that we see there, once again, is in Aboriginal culture meant to impart connection to others. In addition to that, those dots that you see there are symbolic of people. Once again, people around the connection to culture. And there happens to be 7 of those, which is the 7 areas of Rotary focus. I can go through that, but that's not really important. But you'll notice once again that we've conveyed healing, peace, connection to people, and people themselves, all non-verbally through shape and through color. Continuing along, the circle and the dots all together in Aboriginal culture mean a guiding star. So in a sense, there's a sort of an astronomical culture around symbols of cultures of dots and circles. This is all Aboriginal now. This is amazing to me. In addition to that, of course, we have the digging stick, the green that you see there. The digging stick, of course, symbolizes earth, and it's meant to impart hard work. So now we have an additional thing of something which is earthly, hard work. And of course, always to remember, hello, John Lennon, which is Imagine. She talks about the fact that you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I love that Jennifer went back I checked this out, 1978. So that is 44 years since that song was first published. And I think it's very cool that she talks about Imagine as the theme for her Rotary year. In addition to that, I want you to take a look at purple, which of course is healing, green, which is meant to convey earth, and white, which is the Aboriginal color for peace. You put them all together and you get something really unique, which once again symbolizes Jennifer as the first female president. All those colors together are meant to symbolize the suffragette movement in Britain, approximately 1918 to 1920. Those were the 3 colors: purple, white, and green. And she picked these colors quite by accident in the sense that they align perfectly with her role as the first female head of Rotary International in 117 years. And the three colors that she talks about in that particular instance perfectly aligns with the three colors on her Rotary International symbol for the year. So that's the reason I say that this whole thing is packed with so much imagery and so much meaning. And it is truly Jennifer's genius. So I thought that we would start this evening talking about Jennifer with her whole discussion of her selection of Imagine as her theme for the Rotary year. To me, it's quite fantastic. That's all I can say. Before we move on, does anybody have any comments about this? Mark, I've got you on my screen, so you're not going to escape.
Okay, well, I have heard much of this before, but the digging stick I forgot about. That is very relevant. And really this image, the whole logo is generates mental effort. You know, you've got to think about what it all means. And it's really very proactive. So I'm very impressed. I'm actually the officer for our district who's promoting the Melbourne Convention. So I'm very pleased that you're talking about it now. I hope to bring a lot of Polish people there, in spite of the fact that it's probably the most distant travel point for Polish people on this earth. I think New Zealand comes very close as well, depending which way you fly. But I'm going to try and get as many Polish people to come to Melbourne, and obviously I'll come to Sydney as well during that convention. I may be also in Sydney in early November. I'm trying to organize a visit. I've got a lot of things to catch up on. So thank you for including me. I think the logo is fantastic. It's thought-provoking. It's most inspiring. It links a lot of concepts, and I am really thrilled that the Aboriginal culture is getting a full treatment because it is magic. I think we have a lot to learn from that because they are really concerned on human issues, and we're obsessed with technology, which is fine. But I think we're going a bit overboard with technology. We've got to get back to human values, and that's what this logo does. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Now, what I'm going to do, Pete, is I'm going to turn my screen sharing off. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to ask you to continue with YouTube on the first video that I sent you. And
Perfect.
and Rotary members, what you're seeing now is the first video that I wanted to show of Jennifer Jones in terms of her discussion. No, that's the third one, Pete. I want to do the first one if we can. It's a short one. We'll get to this one. There's three. There's three of them before.
That one or the
this one's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful line.
Just want to check. Did everybody hear that snippet?
Yep.
Yes.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
Okay.
I hear that lyric as a call to action. We all have dreams, but acting on them is a choice. And when organizations like ours dream big things like ending polio and creating peace, it becomes our responsibility to make these dreams a reality. Imagine a world that deserves our best, where we get up each day knowing that we can make a difference. You don't imagine yesterday, you imagine tomorrow. Imagine a world without polio. Imagine a world with clean water for everyone. Imagine a world free of disease, a world where every child learns to read. Imagine kindness and hope and love and peace. And that's, my dear friends, why our theme is Imagine Rotary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Imagina Rotary. Imaginons le Rotary. Imagina i Rotary. Imagine Rotary. Sang sang hara Rotary. Imagina u Rotary. Shang shang fulun. I hope that it's meaningful in all of our languages. There is a great line in the song from the Broadway musical Rent. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in a life? Some of you may be familiar with this play, or some of you may be more familiar with the Puccini opera that inspired it, La Bohème. My friend, sitting Governor Michelle Barrere, recently challenged a bunch of us to think about how each one of us gets the same number of minutes. How we choose to live them is the important question. On July 1, the clock starts ticking. How will you use these minutes?
Check out these stays.
Wow. Thank you, Pete. If you'll notice, she had the imagined symbol right on the screen behind us that we've just talked about. And you can see that she's a powerful person, and she's got a great presence about her. Pete, I'd like to run the other short one if we could. And then the last one, which runs for about 13 minutes, was her talk to this district about 6 months ago, which I thought was absolutely fabulous. It's only 59 seconds long, but it's powerful. You want to go ahead and share that with us now?
Greetings, my friends. It is my great honor to send you goodwill and good wishes from Rotary leadership and all across the family of Rotary. Rotary's core values, our traditions, our heritage, these are powerful things that we hold true and yet build upon as we imagine how we can be so much more. When an organization like ours dreams big things like ending polio and creating peace, it becomes our responsibility to make these dreams a reality. We imagine a world that deserves our best, where we get up each day knowing that we can make a difference. By telling our story and aspiring to do more each day, we imagine Rotary. Thank you for playing an important role in this effort. Together, there's no limit to what we can achieve.
And there we are. Imagine Rotary again. A beautiful, powerful statement. And lastly, this is the address that Jennifer Jones gave, and I remember it very clearly. It was a Sunday morning, about 11 o'clock, and Dale and I just sort of tuned in to the district meeting, and Jennifer gave this talk from her home in Toronto, and I'll never forget it. Pete, if you would be kind enough to click on this, it'll go for 13 minutes, but I promise you it'll go quickly. Go ahead, Pete.
Thank you, Noel. And let me begin by first thanking you for the very kind introduction to be here as part of the Zone 8 Institute. And it is a place that has a very special place in my heart, to be quite candid. I have spent a lot of time in your neck of the woods. I've been president's representative in the Pacific Islands with past District Governor Malini in Fiji. I have been to the pets in New Zealand as of just this past February. I've spent tons of time in Australia at $1 million dinners, and I feel like there's just so many people on the other end of this call that I have special relationships with, and it is a delight to be able to be here with all of you this evening. I am here in my official capacity as a trustee at this point, and I will assume the role that Noel talked about on October 1st, after the challenge period is done. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that I went to the mailbox yesterday and I got Rotary Down Under, and it was really cool to to receive this magazine and to see the lovely images that you had on the front of it and the special article. So thank you very much to all of you for your kind support and your friendship. And we obviously have a very special bond that will happen in 2023 with the convention in Melbourne when we travel all there together from all points of the earth to celebrate our great organization. And Nick and I look forward to that more than you can possibly believe. Today, I am here to talk with you about the topic that I've been tasked with is a modern Rotary. And what does that mean? What is our future? I think is the way that we can put it. And you know what? The best thing that I can probably tie it to is the opening song that was played at the very start of this, just prior to Noel's introduction. Life goes on, steady and strong. And that is the truth. We pick up one foot and we put it in front of the other. We have been challenged and tested like never before, but we pick one foot up and we go forward steady and strong. And that is because that's who we are. When the world stepped down, we stepped up. And during this COVID pandemic era, Rotarians have stepped forward in ways that have been large and small, great and just unimaginable, to be quite candid. And it is remarkable to understand what we have done at a time when we all had to, hunker down in our own homes. Those on this call, on this space, you all understood what it was to take care of everyone around you. And as we look at this modern world that we're in, it could never be punctuated more profoundly than what we are going through right now, to be honest. A couple of years ago, we started out on this venture to look at the next iteration of Rotary's strategic plan. And in that, we came up with 4 key priorities: to increase our impact, to expand our reach, to enhance our participant engagement, and the last one was our ability to adapt. And I was on that committee at the time, and ability to adapt was one that we kind of chalked off to, well, you know what? It's something that will be probably more internal. It's going to be speaking to that ultimate flexibility that we passed at the 2016 council. We're going to focus on that flexibility, but it's going to be more of an internal driver. Never could it have been more real than it has been in this past year. Our ability to adapt. We have stepped up in ways which we could have never possibly imagined. We have innovated. We have thought of new ways to do Rotary. We have stretched outside of our boundaries. We said we wanted to be creative, but my goodness, we have been tested to the max. And you know what? We showed up. We are inducting members into clubs right now. We are chartering new clubs right now. This is the modern future of our organization. We are doing it in real time. Now, membership has been something that your countries, mine, for both North America, the US and Canada, for Australia and New Zealand, some parts of Europe, membership has been on the decline, quite candidly. Now, not surprisingly, in a pandemic era, would we find that, but really it's not candidly associated with that. We've been kind of on a bit of a decline for a little while, and particularly the past 5 years. When we look at the changeover from June 30th to July 1 of this year, we lost 14,500-ish members, 12,000 of them from the US and Canada, where the largest hit was taken from. And so we need to look at, there are parts of our Rotary world that are growing, and there are parts that are not growing. And I think we really need to look at what are the things, as again we look at this modern era of Rotary, what do we take from what we're going through, and how do we learn from it? And quite candidly, I think there's so much to learn from this pandemic era. What we understand and what we know is that we join and we stay for service and fellowship. Those are the reasons. We know it. It's born out of research. So how do we improve upon that at a time like this? Well, people are stepping up in service because that's what we do. Fellowship, yeah, we want to get together in person, and right now it's a little bit inhibited. We'll get back to that. Of course, we'll get back to that. But right now, the best of us is taking care of those who aren't able to be with us. And so, looking out for the members of our club who are maybe not able to connect in ways online. Maybe they're separated. Maybe they're finding it to be a very challenging time. And it's incumbent upon us to reach out to those people to make sure that they feel supported. That's what we do. That's the best of us. That's the best of humanity. And that's who we are. That's who we are as Rotarians. So, we'll climb through all of this. We'll get better at it. But how do we do better at membership? And quite candidly, I think that we don't really have a problem asking people to join our organization. I think for your countries and mine, I think what we need to do a better job of is asking people what they want out of this experience and then delivering on that promise. We sell a really great product. We just don't necessarily deliver on what it is that we offer. And so if we ask people when they join, what do you want out of this experience? Then you know what? I think we can do a better job of giving them that in the end. So that's a little bit of a take on membership. The Rotary Foundation, let me talk a little bit about that for a moment, because that's one thing that I think we have an opportunity to move the needle on in a profound way. And you're going to hear from a couple of speakers tonight, in particular, Mike McGovern, who is our IPPC chair. And he's going to tell you the things that we're doing with Polio Plus as the International Polio Plus Committee chair. And you know what? It is mind-boggling to understand what we have been able to do from the polio perspective into the COVID perspective. We have taken our infrastructure that we have created, the point of pride that we should all have in what we have done over the past several years to create this kind of infrastructure with our partners, and then be able to transit and pivot it into a COVID world has been nothing short of breathtaking. And I know Mike will talk about this in earnest, so I don't want to step on where he's going with that. But it really is truly important to understand that we resonate right now because of what we do in a very profound way. And our organization couldn't be more relevant than it is at this very moment in time. Our Rotary Foundation has shown that we have been able to step up like no other time in our history. We were able to transit in real time into providing disaster relief and disaster response grants to the front line, to people to be able to provide all kinds of different things, from PPE to ventilators to all kinds of different support apparatus. And you know what? That's because our Rotarians, they understood that we needed to take action. We didn't sit back. Like I said, when the world stepped down, we stepped up. And that's what we do. That's because we are Rotarians. You know, my youngest brother, we were sitting together recently, well, actually not so recently, a couple of years ago, I would say. And I was prepping for an interview, and it was for a magazine article about doing humanitarian work. And I was, bantering with him about, what does that mean? And out of his mouth came these words: in order to live in the kind of society you want, you have to help build it. In order to live in the kind of society you want, you have to help build it. And that's the privilege that we are all afforded by being Rotarians. We all have this ability to jump in, to do something, to dream big. And I think that that's one of the largest calls to action that I can give to all of you, is to dream big, to think outside the box. We have an opportunity right now to change how we look at things, because the world has given us this opportunity. We've been knocked down, we've been battled, we've been battered about, but we come out stronger. And that means that we get to look at things in a way that we've never done them before. And that's a good thing. And that's going to be the strongest outcome, I believe, of this pandemic. For us as an organization to rise up, to understand that we can do things, in a way that has never been done. Those words that are spoken sometimes in our clubs, and it's been spoken in mine, but that's not the way we do it. You know what? Those words, I think, just got checked at the door. So think outside of the box, think creatively, think of the ways that you can be a modern Rotary. And a modern Rotary doesn't mean throwing out what we stand for. Our core values, the four-way test, our objects of Rotary, service above self. This is who we are. Those are the things that stand the test of time. But doing things in a different way, maybe perhaps that's the secret sauce. And maybe that's how we go forward in today's modern world. Let me leave you with a favorite quote of mine, and this is one by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Everyone has the power for greatness, not for fame, but for greatness, because greatness is delivered through service." I wish for all of you a life full of abundance of service. And I thank you so much for your kind attention and for being Rotarians and for being part of this journey. And a wonderful Sunday morning to all of you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Pete, for putting that up there. As you can see, it's a very, very powerful message, very powerful. And I wanted to bring that forward because exactly the things that she's talking about is something that we're in the process of doing in our club. You know, we're moving towards being expansive in our membership and working to make our club members have a better experience to meet their expectations. We have pivoted from polio into our action on the Ukraine relief. And in addition to that, we believe that we're working hard to help to build the society that we want to live in. Having said all that, I'd like now to make a pivot into a discussion about our Warsaw fundraising. I'd like to say, first of all, Mark, that we'll get you out of here. Don't worry. But we've had a very interesting and wonderful experience these last 2 or 3 weeks with our Rotary fundraising for the Ukraine. The first thing is that our friends down in the Picton Club have continued to fundraise on behalf of the Rotary, of our Rotary Club and our coalition, which we call the Hope Fund. And the Hope Fund now has 2 Rotary clubs, and I'm hoping that we will add 1, possibly 2 more clubs to form our coalition. And to date, we have raised our goal. We're $100 short of our $2,500 goal, but we expect to have that topped off in the next day or 2 and topped off with a matching amount from Picton. Mark, we hope to transmit the entire $5,000 AUD to you, hopefully this week, latest, very early next week for Ukraine relief. And let me say that we are just getting started on this. We view this as a long-term marathon, and we won't forget about either the need that we see or your wonderful help in implementing that. We're very grateful for the opportunity to be able to fundraise and participate in that. It's been a real privilege to, as Jennifer talks about, the core values and the service above self. You've given us an opportunity to do that. So we're very, very thankful and very grateful for that. Would you like to just say a few words? Anything come to your mind?
Yes, thank you very much. We are very grateful. It actually links up very well with what Jennifer was saying. Um, the bigger the challenge, the more united we stand. And that happens to be the case with Rotary. If you've got a very uh, dramatic, focused challenge, people come and help, and they unite their energy to give even better results. We've found this in Poland, that we are very argumentative about politics. That seems to be our nature, you know, for a country that's been through the wars a few hundred times in the last 1,000 years. Politics is the main issue, and we often argue quite for the sake of argument. Now, with the Ukraine crisis, it's united everybody, and everybody's pulling together in the same direction to help. And I'm really grateful for what you're doing. This coalition that you formed is fantastic. I'll be happy to do another Zoom meeting. Just give us a time when it would be convenient. I'm away for a couple of days, but I'm sure we can work around that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it is bringing amazing results in Poland, and the Ukrainians, who are our buddies from being in the same district up to 6 years ago, all the Rotarians there are thanking us, many thank you letters, and you know, confirming that stuff has arrived. And this will help tremendously. We are just sending a third ambulance, which we got secondhand. It's had about 5 years, and we refurbished it all, filled it full of new gear, and it's being driven out in 2 days' time when all the insurances are filled out, because we have to insure it, you know, despite the fact that the risks are very great. You have to have some sort of insurance. We've also got labels on the ambulance for all the clubs that have contributed to it. You'll see it when I send you the latest PowerPoint that we are now updating. We're very energized by the whole situation. And as Jennifer was saying, the bigger the challenge, the more focused you become. It gives you new energy, and we're actually growing in membership for the first time in years. So, you know, Australians have a great characteristic that they always look on the positive side of things, and we're a happy country. Generally, I mean, everybody's got problems. You've just had terrible weather in Sydney, I remember that, but I've seen some really great cartoons about this, how you can see the bright side of a major natural disaster. And this is also the case here in Ukraine, that we've now reached almost 5 million refugees in Poland coming across the border from Ukraine, which is 13% of our population. So we've just got an extra 13% of people on top of our 38 million. So we're going to be double the population of Australia very shortly if we keep on going at this rate. We're hoping that every little bit helps, because it is such a huge challenge. There are about 200 projects that different clubs have got involved with. We're doing 3 in our own club. And just last Saturday, we had a special event for the 30 Ukrainian women and children who we have located in the refugee center, which you've seen, and you've actually marked it as your target project. And they were delighted because they are a bit isolated. They need to know more language, both in Polish and English, and we're doing that as well. But just having people there, we had a handover of the president chair a few weeks too late, but this was the first time we could do it over in their refugee center, which they call their home now. And it really raised their spirits, and I'm delighted that we did it like that. I wasn't able to be there because of illness in my family, but I saw videos, and we may be able to show you some of those next time we have a Zoom. So
Yeah, that'd
thank you
be
so much.
wonderful.
Yeah, we're in full flight to get as much done as possible, because the sooner the better. And I think we're making a real difference. They're actually talking here. I mean, you don't get much of these news because they're really very locally oriented. There is actually hope on the horizon that this war may scale down over the next 4 to 6 months. Now, to me, that's still a disaster, but at least there is some hope, which wasn't there 2 months ago.
Well,
Nobody
we'll
knew
see.
how this would ever take off.
Yeah, we'll see. We hope that that's in fact the case. And Mark, we're very grateful that once again, we've been able to work with you on a club to club basis, because we think that's what Rotary is all about. And, you know, we're working with a club Picton, which is 30 kilometers away, and a Rotary club in Warsaw, which is 15,000 kilometers away. And it's a seamless thing that we can do today. That's what technology can do for us. Thank you so much, Mark. You Rotarians, if you'll remember, a part of our fundraising has been the raffle to be this beautiful piece of art donated by Julie Spat, the artist for this, beautifully framed. And I'm going to be drawing out of this. Believe me, totally closing my eyes to make it non-partial. And I'm pulling out the winning ticket, which is Ms. Jill Held, one of our major donors. I'm so glad that Jill was able to win this. And we will be delivering that to her shortly. She's not online tonight, but she's generally, even though she's not a club member, she's a very faithful attendee to all of our meetings. So Jill, we thank you, and we thank you, Mark, for your attendance tonight. And we're looking forward to hopefully getting our Picton Club and the rest of interested people here in Australia for our next Zoom session to give you an opportunity of updating it. And just sit tight. We'll be transferring the funds hopefully latter part of this week to you.
Wonderful.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you
important.
again.
It gives us more positive energy.
We understand that. And we marvel at your energy having to do this on a day-by-day basis. We know that this is a big imposition on Poland, but then again, war is never easy on anybody, is it? Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I look forward to further contact and have a wonderful meeting. I will have to go to help my wife, but you're doing wonderful work. Thank you for the idea of this coalition that you formed. It's a great way to go. And I hope to see you perhaps in November in person if things go right.
We'll be happy to host you, Mark. And thanks again for this evening. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Pete, if you'll bring us back to Australia. I just have a few words of thanks. First of all, I want to say, does anybody have anything that they would like to say as a result of what they heard tonight and Jennifer's talk? She's pretty awesome is all I can say. So I'll throw the floor open to any comments.
I suppose
Pete,
I have one. Yeah, so I have one on my side. And I know you and I are doing a bit of work in the background to kind of work out how that can impact our club. But I think for me, the big message is let's get involved. If this is the world that we want to change, let's get involved. So yeah, the call out to the members to say, yeah, we've got the dog show coming up with Jeff and Dale. We've got the work that Tom and Mark are doing in the background. There's a lot of projects going on, and would love to kind of get your thoughts and your feedback and ideas about how we can take that to the next level. No matter whether it's big or small, we just want to open that up to the clubs and to the rest of our members and to your friends. Obviously this is open up to everyone. So if you've got someone who's passionate about the Ukraine, bring them along. They don't necessarily need to be a Rotary member. Let's just get them involved and get them to supporting and driving what they get, the purpose that they get out of it. So I think for me, that's what I really took out of Jennifer's talk today, particularly the last one around energizing us back into kind of creating the world that we want to.
Yeah. Let's see who else we have on here.
Dale, do you have a question there?
Yeah, Dale. I'd like your reaction as a woman to Jennifer. You want to unmute yourself?
Dale, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Thank you, guys. Just following on from what Pete said, I like the way she said, find out what people want to do. And when you find out what people want to do and you can say, go for it, and we'll support you, I think it's a great inspiration to all of us, really. So from that aspect, I think our club, and I heard you and Pete talk about that before, ask people what they want to do, let them go for it and support them. So I think that's fabulous. As a speaker, I think the other thing that she talked about is that a lot of people have the image of it's not done like that. And she has said, we're not throwing that out with the dishwater, but we have to look at different ways to do things. So the four-way test is still very much, you know, the sort of the goal for us all. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is one of hers as well, is terribly important, so that we include people. And, you know, to have people doing what they want to do and then including them with whatever we do, I think is very inspirational indeed. Thanks.
Thank you. And talking about someone who is making a huge contribution, Jeff, I know you hate to be pointed out, but you made a very, very significant contribution to our dog show this last week. And I'd like you, if you would, not only do I want to recognize you, but I'd like you to just sort of explain how this happened, because to me, this was not only, this shows the power of what happens when you have a good cause and you ask people to help. So Jeff, would you just talk about what you did this week, which is great.
Okay, well, I think we need a correction first of all. Pete said Jeff and Dale. No, Pete, it's Dale and Jeff. Dale's running the show and I'm helping.
Okay.
Jeff, I know the feeling.
What do I say? I mean, it's actually been really very simple. When we did Rose Bay, I did a little bit of research, discovered that Vet HQ was a really big veterinary practice. I did a cold call, phone call. I managed to get straight through to the guy, Jeff Golofsky, who owns it, runs it. I said, we're running a dog fair, do you want to be a gold sponsor, $3,000? And there was about 15 seconds of silence and he said yes. It was that easy. And this time I just asked again and I had a bit of trouble getting through this time because they were very busy, but yep, keen to go ahead, want an invoice, we need to get an agreement done. Need to check their public liability again, but easy. I wish they were all that easy.
Jeff, I've got a friend of mine who's an athlete, and he was a track and field runner, and he ran the 440, which the 400 meters, which is a four times 100 sprint. And he said the fastest race that he ever ran was the easiest. And he said sometimes good things come when you just relax and sort of let things unfold the way that they were meant to unfold. And I think that's exactly what happened this last week. And fellow club members, I want to commend you, Jeff, for getting us off to a terrific start for sponsors for our dog show. We by no means need to be complacent about this, but usually when things start well, they will end well. And we've built some momentum. So that's two main sponsors that we have now. And it is hopefully the direction that Pete and I want to take the club for the next 2 to 3 months. We've got to get all out to get this dog show done and done correctly, because it's a major fundraiser and there are people counting on our ability to bring this forward. So Jeff, thank you for your participation as a Rotarian for our club. You've been a tremendous asset, and I'm hopeful that we can start to build some momentum of bringing our members in and non-members as well. We've had some solicitations of interest from people who are not club members, but like the idea of service and like the idea of survivors of domestic violence, which is the focal point of what we're trying to do. So, Jeff, thanks so much. It's all I can say is good work. Thanks again. Let's see who else we have on here. Alan, I wanted to say good evening to you. I hope that all is well with you. And
yeah, all is fine. Thank you, Tom. It's goes well.
Alan, it's always good to have you with us. You know, you're I don't know how to say this, but somehow these meetings are not the same without you. You're just really it's true.
You're very kind.
No, it's true. It's really true.
It's
really true.
Always good to be here.
Good. Always good to have you, Alan. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to circle back to you next month. We've got a bit of a surprise for you, but I'm not ready for it yet. And but we will be circling back when we have Alan Stevens night next month. So we'll figure it out. I'm just giving you fair notice right now.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, good. And Sarah, I know you don't want to talk unless you want to, but it's always good to have you on with us. And thank you for joining up tonight. I hope this has been a great contribution. And you know, someone like you who is involved in patient care needs to hear from time to time the message that Jennifer Jones gave us, that, you know, the very fact that if you want to live in the society that you want, you've got to help build it. And to me, that's a good message for myself as well. I'm very grateful for her bringing that to our consciousness. I felt like tonight, in just signing off, that we've had an opportunity to see what leadership from the top looks like. And I thought that it was important for all of us as Rotarians to get behind Jennifer Jones and understand a little bit about what's in her head. And every time that we look at that Rotary International symbol for the year, it'll never be the same now that we understand the symbolism behind it, the Aboriginal culture that it exhibits, what it means for us here as Australians. And I'm very grateful that we've had an opportunity to come together this evening to share that message and to understand the importance of what she's trying to say and what she's trying to do. Because at the end of the day, we're all Rotarians supporting her just as she's a Rotarian supporting us. So I want to thank everybody for their wonderful attendance tonight. Pete, if you would put up on the screen, before I go, does anybody else have any comments or questions or anything they'd like to say? And Ronald, we'd like to say thank you, and we're so glad to have you back from vacation.
It was on business, mate. It wasn't a vacation.
Well, shall we say separation? Is that a better way of putting it? A
Yes,
visit with
because
Uncle.
even went to my hometown of Temora to put flowers on my parents' graves and things like that.
So those are necessary things to live our lives, Ronald, is to remember our roots and to give honor and thanks to our parents. That's fantastic. I'm very happy for you. Very happy. Man. And you know what I think, Ronald? I'm thinking about all those people inside the Ukraine who don't have an opportunity to do that. How fortunate and blessed we are.
You're certainly right.
Yeah. Thanks, Ronnie. Good to have you back.
Thank you,
Pete, there you go at the end, the 4-way test. Fantastic. Before we cut away, I just want to remind all the board members that we're going to be meeting next week, and we will post our speakers and our outline for August in the next week or so when they sort of get developed. I'm sort of deciding which way to go. Anyhow, what we're going to do tonight is we are all going to say together the four-way test as a way of exhibiting our togetherness that Jennifer talked about. So I'm going to say, I'll start us off on each one and we'll all just say it together. And it comes under the category of the core values that we as Rotarians hold dear. So the four-way test, number one, is it the truth? Yes, truth. Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Yeah, fairness. Number three, will it build goodwill
and better friendship?
better friendships? And number four, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Yes, and are traditional to Rotary Australia and the Queen.